Waiting until you feel ready grammatically means you'll never start. Fluency is a physical skill before it's an intellectual one, like dancing, not like solving equations. So the shocking truth is this: the more time you spend studying grammar in silence, the further you might actually be pushing your speaking day away because you're training the wrong brain. What if the reason native speakers understand each other instantly has nothing to do with vocabulary size and everything to do with rhythm? Most learners think fluency means knowing more words, but you could know 10,000 words and still sound choppy, robotic, and hard to follow. While someone with a much smaller vocabulary sounds smooth and confident just because of their rhythm and stress pattern. English is a stress-timed language, which means some words get stretched and some get almost swallowed. If you say every word with equal weight, your speech sounds foreign no matter how advanced your grammar is. This is why shadowing, repeating after a native speaker line by line, copying their music, not just their words, works faster than any textbook. In 2026, you don't need a teacher standing next to you to do this. You can slow down any video, loop a sentence, and record yourself right on your phone. The trick is training your mouth muscles and ears together daily in short bursts instead of long passive listening sessions where you understand everything but retain nothing. Rhythm is invisible in a textbook, which is exactly why it's the most overlooked skill, and exactly why fixing it changes everything almost overnight. What if speaking before you're ready is actually the fastest way to become ready? There's a dangerous myth called the silent period, the idea that you should absorb the language for months or years before you dare open your mouth. In reality, delaying speaking builds a wall of fear that gets taller every day you wait. The learners who progress fastest are the ones who embarrass themselves early, often, and on purpose. Every wrong sentence you say out loud and get corrected on is worth more than 100 sentences you silently understood. Speaking activates retrieval, the brain process of pulling a word out from memory under pressure. And retrieval is what actually builds fluency, not recognition. In 2026, you have zero excuses to stay silent. AI conversation partners are available every hour of the day, judgment-free, patient, and endlessly repeatable. You can have a real spoken conversation about your day, your job, your opinions at 2 a.m. with no human watching, no embarrassment, and instant feedback on your mistakes. The people still waiting to feel ready in 2026 aren't being careful. They're avoiding the only exercise that actually works. The same way you can't get stronger without ever lifting the weight. What if the 4 hours of English content you watch every day are teaching your brain absolutely nothing new? Passive consumption without active engagement is one of the biggest silent time wasters in language learning. Watching a show with subtitles on in your own language while your brain quietly translates everything feels productive, but it's building almost no new neural pathway. The shift that changes everything is active immersion, watching with English subtitles only, pausing on a sentence you don't understand, saying it out loud, checking the meaning, and moving on, instead of letting content wash over you like background noise. In 2026, technology has removed almost every excuse for passive watching. You can screenshot a sentence, ask an AI instantly why a phrase was used that way, get 3 example sentences back, and move on in 15 seconds. Content should be a workout, not a lullaby. The learners who binge watch for entertainment and the learners who binge watch for fluency consume the exact same shows. The only difference is what their brain is doing during it. One group finishes a season and forgets it. The other group finishes a season and has quietly absorbed hundreds of new natural expressions without ever opening a textbook. What if your biggest vocabulary problem isn't that you don't know enough words, but that you know the wrong ones? Most learners study vocabulary lists full of words a native speaker uses maybe once a year, while missing the 200 tiny connector words and phrases that hold every single natural sentence together. Kind of. I mean, the thing is, turns out. These small glue words are what make speech sound human instead of like a translated textbook. Native speakers barely notice big vocabulary. What actually signals fluency to their ear is how naturally you connect ideas and hesitate in the right places. In 2026, instead of memorizing themed word lists, the smarter approach is collecting real phrases directly from real conversations, podcasts, and interviews. Writing down the exact way people transition between thoughts, not just isolated vocabulary. This is a shocking shift for most learners because it means less time flipping through a dictionary and more time listening for patterns. A learner with a modest vocabulary who uses natural connectors will always sound more fluent than a learner with an impressive vocabulary who speaks in stiff, disconnected sentences. Fluency was never a vocabulary contest. It was always a rhythm and connection contest in disguise. What if the single biggest obstacle to your fluency isn't your English at all? It's your own inner voice. Most learners carry a harsh internal critic that judges every mistake the second it leaves their mouth. And that fear quietly shuts down spontaneous speech before it even starts. This is why some people can write beautiful, correct English but freeze completely in a live conversation. The pressure of being judged in real time overloads the brain and blocks retrieval. Building fluency in 2026 means treating mistakes as data, not failure. Every stumble is information your brain uses to correct itself the next time, exactly like a child learning to walk falls constantly and never once feels ashamed about it. Recording yourself speaking daily, listening back without judgment, and treating each awkward pause as useful feedback rather than embarrassment rewires your relationship with the language completely. The learners who eventually sound effortless are almost never the smartest ones in the room. They're the ones who gave themselves permission to sound bad for a while. Confidence isn't the reward you get after becoming fluent. It's the tool you use to get there. Change the inner